Our location is the academy within Lijiang City, where the initiation rite is commencing. To determine individuals with exceptional aptitude, to distinguish extraordinary individuals from utterly inept failures. A discerning hairless, whiskered educator cautions against the perils of pursuing unrealistic romantic interests. Furthermore, explaining that the initial transformation determines an individual's destiny, a superior stand, indicates a more promising existence. Within this gathering, each harbors unique ambitions. The hairless gentleman desires to embody a ferocious warrior and utilize his capabilities to combat entities, while the bespectacled individual seeks a covert role, to become an unsettling figure complementing his appearance. Within this location, a digital realm titled Eternal merged with actuality. Within this realm, individuals could eliminate their superiors in reality. Thus, it garnered widespread popularity, since the joy derived from eliminating others was quite delightful and amusing, all occurring within the virtual realm naturally. But then a growing number of individuals joined the activity, and eventually one particular day, a structure materialized and creatures began to wander the urban landscape. Yet, rather peculiarly, the planet's surface area expanded significantly, and a multitude of hidden domains emerged, containing numerous beasts and unfamiliar species. Every male individual was content since now, rather than selecting between posterior or bosom, they could opt for elf or succubus companions. Furthermore, everyone possessed the ability to progress and modify their roles to augment their capabilities, thus enabling them to combat these creatures. And there's our unsuccessful fellow, apathetic and melancholic main character, with piercing gaze and pendant to enhance his distinctiveness slightly. His appellation is Zhou Yi, and he's of Chinese descent, thus inherently merciless. Possessing this sorrowful countenance, you understand he is without a mother, lacking a father, with an attractive sibling hospitalized, afflicted by an ailment nobody truly comprehends or can remedy, incurable by conventional physicians or healers, and he could scarcely sustain her existence. Aided by a novice clergywoman, a low-ranking priestess, he liquidated everything from mundane possessions like his dwelling to outlandish items such as his digital game cosmetics, merely to prolong her life, to keep her breathing. The unfortunate reality is currently that holds no significance, given the absence of a method to heal his sibling. He simply anticipates her demise awaits her past. The healthcare expenses are escalating relentlessly because she requires spiritual intervention to survive. And as an average individual, an ordinary person, within a materialistic system where affluence accumulates, our impoverished youth becomes increasingly destitute. He gambles everything on this transformative event, choosing a formidable warrior profession, a potent fighting role. He can finally reacquire his gaming profile, restore his digital persona, subsequently aiding his sibling in acquiring a charming female companion at the residence. This questionable magic instructor instructs all pupils whose appellations were announced to enter the designated area for vocational activation. All are astonished by the magician's rank of 24. Our gloomy protagonist acknowledges his power. Most remarkable is the compensation of 1 at that position, which is in his 6 figures minimally. He simply requires 6 feet in height and a 6-inch phallus, thus possessing the 3 sixes necessary to attract voluptuous social media ladies. The educator commences student identification. Our young man senses the beginning, and numerous potential job paths exist. Yet given the abundance of creatures, the martial professions garner the utmost esteem. Should you acquire a domestic skill set, remaining at your dwelling is advisable. Pleasuring oneself with digital companions surpasses, risking demise within subterranean labyrinths. The initial individual receives 3 vocational options: apothecary, melodist, and songwriter. Yet without a solitary warrior vocation, his predetermined outcome is evident. The educator states at least 50% will acquire a fighter role, thus obtaining it is not challenging. Subsequently, the instructor continues announcing figures until our protagonist's turn arrives. Every individual is encouraging him. Apparently, he excels academically. However, regrettably, that isn't consistently a determining element for vocational awakening. The instructor mentions he possesses favorable outcomes, and his attributes are also quite commendable. Perhaps with fortune, he might awaken a desirable vocation. Currently, 16 individuals possess a fighter vocation, and both educators are vying to determine who will acquire additional fighter vocation pupils. Everyone observes his awakening expectantly. Meanwhile, our youth simply remains motionless. His pendant starts to radiate light. A fiery glow emanates from it, and the system materializes. Power detected, initiating the ultimate support system. Top-tier skill, Divine Guardian Protection. Will you agree to this? The brooding noble believes he is delusional, but upon closer inspection, he observes a genuine system with a game-like display. He acquired his amulet in his previous existence, and indeed, he is a reincarnated unfortunate soul. What a triumph! He once believed it might be valuable, but after several attempts yielded no results. He relinquished his efforts. But now this system has been unlocked and granted him a significant boon. The system displays Holy Guardian Protection. Exceptional affinity with radiant energies significantly augment. All luminous and celestial abilities will receive amplified potency. Following numerous dark arts, we shall finally encounter some divine beauties, and our protagonist will employ restorative magic upon the maidens. The tiers range from F to S, with S being superior. The superior, the virtual companion, as previously stated. At that juncture, all present fixated upon his stillness, inquiring his immobility, and his upward gaze resembling a cognitively impaired simpleton. But then a detonation occurred. The enlightened educator and the dubious sorcerer were astonished. From the heavens a celestial being emerged. Voluptuous fair-haired angel in elegant garments descended. Her pendant glimmered as she approached. With lovely substantial digits and 6 appendages, she proclaimed, illumination is your conviction and strength origin. Beneath the hallowed faith, radiance will perpetually shield you and eradicate all malevolence. Then she dematerialized, entering his cranium, imparting a communication. My perpetual protection will remain by your side. Our hero acquired an internal companion, when abruptly 3 additional entities materialized in the firmament, where all present were incredulous. For it appeared these 3 were concealed vocations. The conjurer of illumination, holy cleric, and identical evil. The alluring substantial pale-skinned seductress. Melon girl embodies the luminous sorcerer. My immediate selection without a sliver of doubt. She's an attacker, yet lacks protection, with numerous beasts present. He'd require a guardian, which presents excessive danger. The cleric possesses plentiful restoration, life-preserving abilities, and even revival. But eliminating creatures isn't her forte. You believe he'll pick her for his siblings' rescue. But advancement is necessary beforehand, and leveling a cleric is incredibly arduous. Any MMO veteran understands this truth. The paladin, however, is a jack of all trades, master of none. But at least he's self-sufficient, like a liberated woman. Currently, for a solitary brooding youth, that's the most fitting selection for him. Thus, he selects that option within the framework. And that evening is incredibly significant. The knight swings his mallet thrice, uttering a single word. With each strike, truthfulness, valor, compassion. And he concludes with a duty to perform deeds of valor. Boom. He collapses to the ground and declares that these should be the actions of a paladin. It dissipates, and the power shifts to mastery as his spine glows. And felicitations on your awakening. The paladin vocation, all right. Observe him possessing all the charisma. Perhaps he could have acquired the cleric's aptitude and mended his sibling. But this one makes him appear far more stylish than a frail, eerie cleric. He obtains 3 talents: blade of immaculate white, gradual restoration, armament benediction, and 10 supplementary attributes. Everyone now desires to be his companion. They are all clamoring, requesting to assemble a group for the upcoming assessment. I'm a voluptuous, succulent sorcerer. Please include me. An ivory instructor emerges, proclaiming, Jesus, cease congregating here. Disperse mastery, excellent work, brother. You should return home and obtain some repose. Visit the principal's office tomorrow. Returning to his chamber, he observes that he possesses 20 strength, 18 physique, 17 dexterity, and 15 intellect, and possesses remaining allocation units. He distributes minimally on each to gain comprehensive strength, and the mechanism grants a bonus for initial point utilization, concurrently initiating a task objective. A quotidian quest yielding 3 potential prizes, 10 supplementary units, a sacred nocturnal ability, or arbitrary holy night gear. If such is the reward, he is obligated to seize. Thus the heavens illuminate, and he will be relocated to an alternate location. The mechanism advises him to approach the ordeal with gravity, as perishing in this assessment results in actual demise. Damn, what in the hell? This constitutes the daily assignment. Back in my day, we performed 100 push-ups, a 10-kilometer run, and considered it complete. Yet he is dispatched to an excavation with an imminent threat. He observes a creature with an enormous appendage approaching menacingly, but adeptly dodges, remarking, "It's his initial monstrous encounter. I shall endeavor to eliminate Yusan's abilities due to my exceptionalism." The beast advances with another one. However, he avoids yet another assault and escapes. He continually circumvents each offensive due to his elevated rank. This presents minimal difficulty. This creature is excessively sluggish, and he perceives every motion effortlessly. He displayed excessive hubris, and now possesses a fresh cavity in his thorax. Merely 10 seconds elapsed before this weakling had his arrogance shattered. He is presently grounded. The beast advances towards the second adversary, but he utilizes the gradual restorative process in his abdomen that inside 13 seconds replenishes a quantity of vitality. At the very least, he is enduring some discomfort. I appreciate observing our edgy companions encounter adversity. He performs a gesture of faith and hurls a pristine blade, executing a sequence of attacks with his adept tiger leap, seizes a foe before him, and charges ahead. And thus he slams the beast against the barrier and exclaims, "Precisely, that is what I am referring to." Perhaps he is an admirer of Charlie. Then strikes the creature with such force that it penetrates its torso. You vanquish the unmarked experimental creature. Kindly select a single compensation. He understands that his prestige will increase over time, but currently he requires assistance in combat. Thus he opts for the armament and obtains a simple blade. Now the assessment concludes, and he reappears in his quarters. His mobile device vibrates. It's time to visit the clinic. In the broadcast, everyone discusses him extensively. The sole individual to acquire a concealed vocation in 5 decades. And in that chamber was his sibling observed. Abruptly, the caregiver enters and yells at the unfortunate lass. Wow, man, what kind of mercenary caregiver is this? Because she's proclaiming it's time for your medical expenses. 10,000 immediately or vacate the premises. Essentially the typical healthcare in the USA. The sibling is astonished, inquiring why it's so costly. Wasn't it 5,000 previously? Are there any errors? She is aware that her elder, unsuccessful sibling can only obtain 5,000 with 3 occupations. She doubts he can afford all of this standard American healthcare. Where is the classic socialism? However, the caregiver informs her that she utilized many costly medications this period, and they summoned a clergyman. So if she doesn't remit payment, she can depart. The sibling was perplexed, inquiring, "What do you imply by depart?" That's when a gentleman enters and grasps the caregiver's arm, stating, "Madam Caregiver, it appears I overheard you disparaging the patient with your sharp tongue. I inquire if you can clarify this in the supervisor's office." The caregiver departs, stating to the sibling, "Zhou Yin, you are required to settle your medical expenses immediately." Then the sibling inquired, "Who are you all? Are you all present to request payment?" The gentlemen are amicable, perhaps because they are aware she is the sibling of the prominent saint. The gentleman informed her, "You must be Mr. Zhou and am a close companion of your sibling." But that's when our protagonist enters, stating, "I recently settled the expenses and they requested 10,000. Are you aware of the current situation?" He then observes the other men present and inquires, "What are your identities?" The man presents himself. "Hello, I am called Xiaoan Bing, the mayor's assistant. I also desire to converse with you on certain matters. Our friend is suspicious regarding why such a person seeks him, because that individual is the most influential person in Zhengdai City." He simply grasps the man's hand, and the city leader informs him that this medical chamber is inappropriate for discussion. Let us relocate elsewhere, and instructs his guards to observe his sibling. At a nearby coffee establishment, a collection of companions are discussing an individual who obtained a concealed profession, and it is widely reported in the media. The individual's name is Joey. This is his image. The woman remarks that he appears quite attractive, and that she would welcome celestial gifts from him, but are positioned directly beside them, conversing with the city official who is already informed naturally. He assesses the circumstances and informs our protagonist. Mr. Joe, commendation on acquiring the superior talent, guardianship of the celestial being. Our underdog claims he merely experienced fortuity. However, the city leader states that obtaining an apex ranking is not achievable through mere chance, and he expresses intrigue in our young man. He then provides him with training materials to aid in his preparation for the evaluation. These provisions are secured within the financial institution's strong room, and this is the sole access to the chamber. Do you possess any further inquiries? Our hero, now the authority believes he will ascend to significant power. Thus, there is no detriment in contributing to his development, but complimentary offerings are non-existent, and he likely anticipates reciprocation in some manner. The individual continues bestowing gifts from this day forward. A specialized healthcare collective will attend to your sibling continuously, even a tier 36. A second awakened high priest will visit the town solely to mend her. An uncool loner believes his mother figure possesses all the knowledge he requires. Thus, he cannot decline such a generous proposition. He informs them of his acceptance. Returning to the chamber, his sibling awaits. She is overjoyed learning of his rank, because it signifies his imminent ascent to the peak. And it must be said she appears vacant and spiritless, a mesmerized and deranged individual. Her greatest yearning is to accompany our sullen protagonist as an ornament. He instructs her to cease her foolish utterances, as she must concentrate on recuperation. Yet she is intrigued by his unique top-tier abilities. He recalls possessing an offensive skill, a curative one, and a benediction. Now is the opportune time to attempt to restore her health. Its designation is gradual healing, but perhaps it can achieve something positive. As he employs it, a golden radiance envelopes her, and she remarks on its soothing properties, pleasant and comforting. And its essence is pleasing her immensely, a feeling akin to soaking in a thermal bath, experiencing a complete body rub-down. Little Sis is already salivating. He inquires about her well-being. She expresses astonishment at its overwhelming sensation. Discomfort has vanished, her hands are growing hotter. Observing his sibling's contentment, the young man grins the following day. The informed gentleman converses with him, revealing multiple academies desire the lad. Even top educators compete for his enrollment. A prudent choice is imperative to ensure optimal preparation for his prospects. The youth questions the institution's identities. The principal mentions numerous colleges. However, the boy discerns none rank among the elite. The knowledgeable man clarifies. Elite schools prioritize accomplishments solely, disregarding innate abilities and standings. He must demonstrate his capabilities. A conversation transpires within the chamber. Upon entering, all eyes fixate on. Each individual represents a distinct institution, and naturally they all covet RHED Ling Filler Boy. The young man expresses his pleasure at their acquaintance. Everyone perceives him as a virtuous individual. Modest and composed Hot Wheels he is deemed. Track declares his intention to be forthright. I shall elucidate Rome Hun's University's proposition. An offer of 2 million, an exclusive evening course skill book. Our impoverished protagonist is astonished. Individuals typically earn 6,000 monthly in this round, and he's being presented with 2 million effortlessly. However, the bargain basement. Ichigo Kurosaki proclaims Rome University's persistent frugality. For Zoe Shu University proposes 3 million for it. 3 skills and even a level 56 tutor are included. Even Red Pilled expresses astonishment, as level 56 is among the planet's elite. However, a voluptuous dairy maiden arrives with a superior proposition. She states he will acquire only 2 million, but shall obtain a B-grade cultivation asset. Red Pilled gazes imploringly, urging him to embrace the offer. This resource is unobtainable even with limitless wealth. Its potency can transform even a swine into a behemoth. The therapist inquires about his selection, but our protagonist declares his regrets. He must refuse all their paltry offerings. He disdains special admittance programs. She questions his rationale, and naturally, he elucidates his ambition to join the top 3 academies, institutions accepting a mere 1,000 individuals annually, where even beings of different origins vie for place. The room erupts in laughter at his expense. Hot Wheels Track expresses disappointment in his perceived naivete. He is merely a foolish child. He unleashes his presence, revealing knowledge of his past. He lacks the means to attain such lofty goals. He is feeble and hails from a humble lineage. Sensing the atmosphere, he realizes if it were yesterday, he would collapse currently. The man repeatedly tells him arrival at one of those locations will result in lifelong preparation only, perpetually positioned last in those academies. Red Pilled confronts him, inquiring the purpose of this, Mr. Z. Do you desire to harass my pupil? Evaluation outcomes reveal a single month for preparation. Rapid growth is necessary. Confidence in achievement due to the system. Red voluptuous juicy admires his determination and resolve. She perceives his readiness for combat, and perhaps even intimacy. Thus she departs, expressing anticipation for his achievements. 1 month passes with no rock, Lee training OC. The examination is imminent, causing anxiety. The proctor announces a demonic presence. Young and every student felt impending doom as well. They all were aware our young man declined any college entry. Naturally, they believed him an unintelligent, foolish failure with oversized pride. But that's the moment he arrives on scene. And our lad radiates a brilliant golden light. While everybody previously assumed his uniqueness, he feels strong solitary before the entrance displaying an announcement. Hidden domain deep within the shadowy woods. Levels 10 through 13 difficulty rate. Simple, challenging, and nightmarish modes. Participant count 1 through 5 individuals. Exercise caution regarding the minotaurs, the insignificant adversaries. Figures are contemplating this excessive to provoke. Shadowy woodland creatures are most formidable to confront, but from the rear a voice states, recall if your existence is imperiled. Utilize your return parchment instantly, because perishing within the chart signifies perishing in actuality. It's preferable to botch the assessment than forfeit existence. Duration concluded, and all disappear. We possess fighters, skilled assassins, magic wielders, and firearm experts friend. I desire to be a marksman like a typical Texan, yet naturally all wish to observe the unconventional tonight. Each from the upper ranks ventured into the labyrinth solo, because this is optimal for acquiring maximum experience. And our hero is at the topmost tier, the hardest difficulty while remaining unaccompanied, which is universally deemed an insane action. The headmaster inquires of the hairless man why he permitted the peculiar youth to go alone. That's his eccentricity. He possesses enhancements and recovery. He ought to have companions with him. And more concerning, he entered nightmare mode. That signifies he has a 40% possibility of perishing. You are aware that the metropolis provided him ample supplies, simply to achieve a favorable outcome. But he is jeopardizing all. Red Pill instructs him to calm down, companion. He isn't submissive nor dominant. He's not even remotely impressive. He's utterly insignificant. And observe our protagonist is sprinting when he spots something and retrieves his tool from its place. It's the identical creature he eliminated in his routine practice, and that benefits him. He possesses a solitary blade hatch. Copper 2 celestial bodies. One strike at the beast's core, and it concludes. Observe his intense expression with all those attributes. But why is his intellect so elevated? Perhaps he's engaging in strategic thinking, and we'll uncover. He's rank 13 and believes he can achieve top place and attend any educational institution he desires. The creatures are not initiating aggression, so he yells, if you won't approach me, I'll dismantle you utilizing my instrument. Benediction stage, for after numerous somber, brooding leading characters who can witness someone radiating with celestial brilliance, and it feels invigorating. Because he's the identical warrior and wielding a sacred armament. He acquires an additional 21 points, an accomplishment that would provoke envy in anyone, despite this location permitting solely bronze weaponry. With such significant supplemental attributes to his armor, his might considerably surpasses bronze capabilities. He wields his immaculate blade and concludes all tasks, while onlookers marvel at his impeccable efficiency, for he possesses not only strength, but also combat expertise. He is a formidable adversary. He seizes the beast's limb and hurls at another parish's external. All are convinced he allocated all points to strength, but the elder declares this impossible. He surpasses the feline creatures in swiftness, indicating possession of substantial velocity, and even vanquished some beasts with arcane abilities. Thus his intellect is not insignificant, yet the suited man deems him intellectually deficient, a foolish simpleton despite possessing high combat prowess. However, his strategies are ill-advised, as he squandered all his potential and vigor upon the initial surge of creatures. But on nightmare difficulty, numerous creature surges exist. Even proficient sorcerers falter due to arcane power depletion, and his armament mass is cumbersome. Brandishing an object so weighty, he will inevitably tire. His destiny is predetermined. He shall perish to those creatures. Jim's sibling felines approach him, and all desire knowledge of his next action. but he simply brandishes his axe to utilize a manual technique, launching a power burst, then propelling his axe like a returning weapon, and following its elimination of numerous creatures. It returns to his grasp, and he dispatches another swiftly. All the felines are deceased, and a gateway materializes. Thus he proceeds to the subsequent stage. Another throng of enhanced felines await him external. A broadcaster proclaims greetings from your beloved presenter KK. Just one more K, and events would have become exceptionally chaotic. He is broadcasting our comrade's performance universally, for he is poised to establish a new standard. Mere minutes remain, sibling 3 and 17 seconds. Observe the substantial dimensions of the recording device. Is such magnitude necessary? Not even adult platforms. Business ventures are frequently well prepared, yet inquiries arise regarding his fortitude or resilience. Reasonably, he ought to be exhibiting exhaustion. However, he brandishes his tool tirelessly without weariness. The female with distinct coiffure notes excessive grin. Perhaps he derives amusement from the celestial display. He dismisses this as absurd, advising mere observation. Inwardly, he contemplates a question. Is my facial expression overly broad and apparent? Returning to the protagonist, felines await expectantly. Positioned behind them, a formidable creature lurks. A level 14 beast, and the felines possess unique traits. He assesses the situation as preposterous. His probability of demise has dramatically escalated. The creature bellows, and the throng surges to attack. However, there is a mystical intervention. Felines employ enchantments to immobilize him. He admires the creature's collaborative efforts. Support units behind, boosting healers' frontline combatants. However, he retrieves his pendant, encircles it with his fingers, gestures to invoke the holy beacon's intersection. His superior intellect is now elucidated. The unfortunate felines have perished, for weak beings cannot endure celestial magic. Everyone assumed the lad was auxiliary. How can he possess such solitary might? And furthermore, why does he wield exceptional abilities? Considering he was only provided with mediocre talents, he remains motionless, confronts the beast, and gestures towards it, declaring, "You are the sole remaining adversary." The bullman employs rage and enhanced physique, simultaneously activating ground shatter, exploiting the resulting instability. The Minotaur charges midair. The youth ought to have evaded. He utilizes the aerial strike, delivering another blow. Like a typical religious individual, another beam of illumination emerges. Another strike. He advances with haste this instance, because he comprehends the beast possesses tough hide, thus requiring a decisive strike, and by heavens, he cuts through effortlessly like slicing dare. Friend, the creature contemplates its defeat, bewildered so effortlessly by the unconventional youth. Observing its survival, he crushes its skull. This individual is ruthless. He anticipates the final challenge, the leader's chamber. The spectators are enthralled. The ladies express their distress, for they yearn for his restorative abilities to mend. The suited gentleman is increasingly amazed. He struggles to comprehend the youth's recent training, commenced merely a month prior, and commends the mentor for shaping such a remarkable pupil. Meanwhile, the instructor contemplates that the highest score achieved by this academy over time is 721. Perhaps our student might attain a new benchmark. An individual inquires and questions why no recuperation occurred prior to confronting the final challenge. The sharply dressed man with mood swings is again infuriated, now proclaiming his awareness of his own foolishness presently. He forfeited his edge because recovery should have preceded. However, the motivation behind this is pursuing the high score and to secure a position among the top 100 contenders. Swift completion is necessary for optimal time. Upon his seat of power, the boss addresses the human. Your audacity to trespass upon my domain is remarkable. Behold, a level 16 Minotaur monarch stands before you. Due to the significant disparity in levels, further details remain obscured from view. The Minotaur immediately launches an assault upon him, declaring that readiness for demise is paramount. Yet he utilizes both the blessing of valor and divine favor, along with the boon of safeguarding. Overload version 2 is preparing for battle utilizing premium enhancements. He utters the insult weakling. I am here fully empowered with augmentation. The warrior's base form is now active. They approach, and the beast towers over him. He strikes the creature's limb. Despite 4 power-ups, he is unable to penetrate the hide. Now it's the Crimson Orb's turn to strike, and its mallet is above him. He dodges perfectly. He could not avoid the next attack. The blow was devastating. launching our hero across the chamber. His armor protected him. He would be deceased otherwise. After the trade, he now understands his objective and wields the triumphant lance. Tier 3 rank, C hurls a spear of holy energy. The struck foe will sustain significant harm. He'll locate an opening, yet the program cautions. Your magical energy is depleted, kindly recharge. However, that was the moment he landed the initial strike upon the beast, and he discovered that the creature possessed an additional vulnerability. Its defense is feeble, for although it possesses tough hide, once punctured, its vitality is diminished. It resembles a massive skeleton adorned with heavy plate, and upon impact its recovery is hindered. It must constantly exert maximum effort. And presently, this represents his optimal opportunity. Thus, he unleashes every ability he can muster with his remaining power. The challenging aspect lies in managing everything concurrently, and he must proceed cautiously. Should his energy deplete before vanquishing this foe, he's finished, he was reluctant to wager. Yet no further opportunities remain as time has expired. He withdraws the radiant holy blade from the inventory, and with a potent celestial stroke, he cleaves directly through the beast, ultimately slaying the adversary. Felicitations on conquering the harrowing trial. Test duration 1 hour 30 minutes 24 seconds. The assessment has concluded. You achieved top-ranking SSS clearance, first position. Our young man rejoiced, believing he could attend any college desired. He finally succeeded in his reincarnation year arrival. His mother had died, his sibling was unwell, he possessed much financial burden. Essentially a complete and utter failure. All these pressures weighed heavily upon him constantly. Each night, he felt on the verge of a breakdown. But despite such challenging circumstances, he refused to surrender. Always believing, if unable to elevate his position, he would hone his martial abilities and cultivate his warrior spirit. The notion of quitting never entered his thoughts. The system's emergence provided a second opportunity at existence. Now his destiny lay within his grasp, his control. He must exert himself, strive harder than all others. And in that instant, his resolve remained unwavering, steadfast. He obtains 5,000 experience points, 23 attribute points. Additionally, advances to the 13th level, and obtains objects like a woodland band and a wooded circle, and also acquires miniature excursion sovereign tokens. I adore tokens reminiscent of Ragnarok Online and Hunter x Hunter. When he reaches the stadium center, every person is yelling his title skillful. Proficient, you are my deity. Bestow upon me all your restoration. Hearing such proposals, he became timid. He questioned himself, what's happening? That's when Hairless appears. You ventured alone and completed in less than 10 minutes. You bring distinction to this institution. From my extensive background, I recognize your unparalleled capacity in this region, and your prospects are promising, young man. But our lad is unassuming and merely states they exaggerate his praise. He's not exceptionally remarkable. When abruptly an automobile arrives, and all recognize it's the vehicle capable of airborne mode. At last, Elon Musk provided what we anticipate. Like an indentured servant, the man will even unlock the entrance for him. Please continue. The outcomes will appear in 72 hours, and you require slumber initially. Following that, the city leader honored his commitments to our youth. His sibling received a specialized healthcare group continuously. Upon reaching the destination, he informed the caregiver he's present to deliver his sister positive tidings. And even the medical attendant understands it's due to his top examination score. However, within the lift, the interior temperature begins to plummet significantly. Upon the portal unveiling, everyone is immobile. He discerns an issue afflicts his female relative. Thus he sprints, and the attendant attempts pursuit, yet she becomes abruptly stationary. Upon arrival, he observes a mythical creature and a mender with her savior. He unleashes the sacred power. The mendicant instructs him to refrain from aggression, yet her appendages are transforming into frozen structures. He ceases his assault and inquires why aggression is forbidden. She clarifies that her cardiac organ is in peril. An attack could prove fatal for her. He then inquires about the dragon's presence. She explains its unexpected arrival. An internal coldness erupted, freezing everyone. Currently containing the chill is her utmost ability. His prompt departure is advised. Our protagonist questions his sister's fate. She admits her lack of knowledge. Her current capabilities are limited. A high-ranking cleric is required. Comprehending, he activates the system interface, utilizing all points to enhance his weak recovery. Level 4 recovery becomes level 10 regeneration. He applies it to his sibling. The priestess marvels at his potent skill. surpassing even her level 23 abilities. He continues the girl's healing, requesting the priestess alert the administrator. A high-level priest is urgently needed. The girl cautions about the difficulty of this task, since they possess a multitude of tasks to complete. Even contacting our acquaintance wouldn't guarantee timely arrival. Asserts the identity of the contacted individual is irrelevant. Inform them that the highest scorer on this assessment vows to fulfill a single request for the recipient, without any conditions or stipulations in the future. She consents and departs while the young man contemplates. This sudden chill as a phenomenon she has enduring this affliction for the last 12 months. And consequently, she perpetually endures agonizing discomfort throughout her physique. He was cognizant that her condition had deteriorated lately, but he never envisioned that it could impact the external realm at some point. And the afternoon has already commenced, while our anxious protagonist struggles to persevere. But circumstances are not progressing favorably. Suddenly, an emerald sphere strikes the beast and caroms across the chamber. He glances back and exclaims, "Refrain from harming her," but he too is struck and propelled through the air. Then we observe a well-endowed, shapely, and alluring, most desirable, bust a baseball medic, and that's a novel internet query for me personally. She gazes at the monster and commands approach. The creature assaults her, but she merely strikes its cranium. Then she employs a restrictive therapeutic incantation upon the beast, unleashes an energy from within her orbs, and strikes the creature again. With this action, she dispatches the creature back into the female sibling, then strikes the ground with her club, releasing a restorative surge, and all motion resumes. She inquires if he is Joey. I've been told of you her appellation is Choi Ling Na, a tier 35 secondary awakened cleric. He states that it's a pleasure to make her acquaintance, and she informs him she arrived due to the supervisor. But she's pondering that it's remarkable the man didn't halt. For this duration, he approaches her and inquires, "Mr. Chewy, do you understand what ailment my sibling possesses, and can it be healed?" She informs him that the outflow of frigid power and the refinement into a structure signifies lineage awakened. Joey is astonished because when the sport initially materialized, numerous participants selected characters of different ancestries like sprites, colossuses, and devils. When the diversion fused with actuality, those participants acquired the characteristics of those lineages. Individuals with sprite heritage possess verdant eyes and elongated ears, and those with the colossal heritage could attain 3 or 4 meters. For the preceding 2 centuries, participants wed humans, and the blood disparity lessened throughout successive timelines. They progressively forfeited their abilities except under a unique circumstance. Ancestral heritage awakening the healer clarifies this lineage resurgence can yield both prosperity and adversity, and a triumphant awakening implies mastery over other species' capabilities, and knowledge acquisition will be amplified, but failure results in paralysis or immediate demise. However, his sibling endured frigid temperatures because her physique couldn't withstand the inherited power. If accurate, she activated a rare glacial bloodline. While we possess a modern-day Sherlock Holmes, but she requires a physical transformation to harbor this extraordinary lineage. And to her understanding, the artifact, known as the Freezing Lotus, can alter her constitution, but it's incredibly scarce, last sighted 3 decades prior, and an unknown buyer acquired it for $13 billion. And she cautions him your sibling can't contain this coldness beyond 3 months before she perishes. An easier choice is to simply terminate her lineage. However, this implies a hex, as she will lack any supplementary abilities. I believe possessing a formidable female sibling would be desirable, because encountering such a thing is quite uncommon, given that every sister is either inept or morally compromised, lacking alternatives 5 days subsequently. Our young men are on performance enhancers preparing to emulate Chris Bumstead, executing squats, push-ups, and sit-ups exercises recent reports indicate. Everyone is discussing our promising youth. The lad was merely ranked 10 upon entering the domain, and even secured the top position. He is the leading story everywhere. The fellow from his academy is perpetually arrogant indeed. I predicted his triumph when I observed him. Therefore, I recommended everyone to invest in him maximally, due to my discerning judgment. Naturally, some individuals doubted him, That very evening, a support role concludes a harrowing ordeal solo. I suspect he is employing dishonest tactics. However, the lady claims to possess recordings proving its authenticity. He is potent, and his sacred emblem surpasses a high-level individual's strength. Incandescent sorcery from a lead magician, while possessing numerous enhancements. An observer on a large display is astonished by the mere 9 minutes required, a duration 20 seconds less than his own. He remarks on the audacity to challenge his prestige, implying a death wish. Our protagonist strolls the metropolis and receives a mobile alert. 5 million has been deposited, and the administrative assistant, Xiaoan Bing, adds that lavish accommodations are included. He recognizes the flattery due to his victory. He calls them fortune seekers. He instructs the agent to select a residence. The voice informs him that top university representatives are en route. However, they have already arrived. A person approaches and speaks. "Greetings, Mr. Zhou. I represent Young Academy to enlist you." A chopper arrived, and a man yelled, "Hey, you called him unintelligent. Why are you present now?" The man nervously said, "Mr. Zhou, if you join our institution, we will compensate you 4 million. Another leaped from the helicopter saying, "Any college offer, they would double it. Modi University will get Joey." Then a pink-haired woman, strange-eyed lady, said she would take him. She grabbed him and flew off, whispering enticing propositions. Her breath in his ear, she knew negotiation. She stated, "Mr. Zhou, King Jing University only has training materials for your 4 years there. Each year you will be granted exceptional training materials." However, a shadowy, sadistic goth impedes her journey. Busted, dark-clad dominatrix with a ponytail for better grabbing sis. And presently the rivalry intensifies significantly. The gloomy lass informs him that any offer presented, Kung Jin Academy will surpass it with a superior proposition. The gentleman in the chopper raises his wager further. Should he choose Modi Institute as his destination, he will be bestowed with a complete set of gold-tier gear. They descend back down to the ground below, and the rose-haired maiden clarifies she isn't abducting him. She merely desires a private discussion with our young man, so he can provide warmth with his soothing therapeutic abilities. But Mistress Sadistic won't let this divine lad escape. In representing Su Khan Academy as the enrollment instructor, Su Mayar, she declares to him pointedly. Furthermore, Su Kang Academy has held the top rank for 4 consecutive years. Therefore, it's the optimal location for enhancing his prowess. They can even procure him some exceptional provisions. It's amusing our lads remained silent thus far. He's contemplating this situation. All 3 colleges' prerequisites are quite alike. Each promises him a prosperous tomorrow, and to further excel during his higher education. He requires the institution that best befits him. He selects the academy with the alternative aesthetic. The lady presents a lengthy 10,000-word agreement. Peruse and endorse if satisfactory. All is in order. Other talent scouts are quite disgruntled. Goth girl consistently secures top prospects. It's unfair. Our chap's amazed by her staffless magic wheel, implying she's a highly skilled spellcaster and natural. He inquires about her power, ranking her current level. Mr. Soup, she's a level 42 doubly awakened sorceress. However, the wider realm is truly vast and expansive. Upon entering the hallowed halls of learning, he'll encounter more youthful and potent individuals. This excites him post-system acquisition, he believes. None his age can match his prowess. He's unparalleled. Upon entering Sukhan, he will encounter many individuals of greater power and skill. Thus, his strength will rapidly increase. She perceives his yearning for combat. What a fascinating young man, she muses. Do not squander your time, instructor. Requesting restoration after the agreement. The accord has been executed, and she states that she will grant him 7 days to gather belongings and escort him there. We inquire if the term commences now. She clarifies this maximizes potential outcomes. In the national first-year student exchange competition, then we observe the boy and sibling arriving at their residence, and she utilizes a wheelchair for mobility. Thus, my aspiration for an apathetic, powerful sibling is irrevocably shattered. This estate is the one bestowed upon you by the state. It comprises a total of 3 levels. The upper level contains a customized exercise area for your use. Additionally, the locale boasts a 3,000 square meter. I shall cease to impose upon you. Kindly relax and recuperate with your sibling. The lad instructs the assistant to remain and declares, I possess a matter to address with you. My sister's recovery is incomplete. Her physique remains fragile, despite Nurse King's constant presence. I request you oversee her well, being temporarily in my absence. The gentleman states it would be his privilege to comply, and the Sioux University instructor arrived to collect. He reminds his sibling, should any issues arise, contact me. Adhere to every instruction from the clergy. Furthermore, Nurse King will conduct daily health assessments. The assistant will facilitate your educational arrangements. She expresses weariness from the numerous directives. On and on it goes. He gently squeezes her cheek, remarking, understood. Now inside the vehicle, the instructor inquires, is this your initial extended journey? He affirms its truth. She instructs him to ready himself. They embarked on a swift journey through a portal. Moments later, they arrived at the academy. He inquires about their time constraints. Was utilizing teleportation magic truly necessary? Because he understands that those academic institutions are typically governed by armed forces, and a formal application is required for teleportation access. Yet here they stand. The educator clarifies the university's collaboration with the military, resulting in a massive teleportation device near the campus, ensuring both security and ease. Now having reached their destination, he observes the area and remarks on its immense size. The instructor simply urges him to proceed with registration. A figure swiftly passes him, a young man being propelled. An alluring albino woman with violet eyes and ample bosom appears. She exclaims her appreciation for diversity. She reiterates her desire for solitude, issuing a warning. Further disturbances will not be tolerated. Leniency is over. Every individual gazed at the male. Wealthy lad selected poorly this particular term. He consistently attempts to woo attractive underclassmen each session. He ultimately received his just deserts. Fortunately, our companion knew the lass possessed infernal ancestry. Due to the mystical markings celestial and demonic is quite the pairing in yang entirely within. The educator states that numerous pupils and instructors at this academy possess diverse lineages. Thus, he should not feel astonished upon encountering them later. He replies, do not fret, regardless of other species' presence, provided they align with humankind. I shall harbor no animosity toward them, because I would not despise all infernal beings, merely due to my paternal figure's demise. All right. Fresh details. The instructor tells him, well, behold your learner identification. He notes it displays a graded evaluation, and the educator then clarifies the institution's framework. Firstly, the position each period possesses its specific order. Naturally, greater power equates to a more elevated position within the hierarchy. Placement for new students is determined by examination scores. He holds first place and, unsurprisingly, the strongest among newcomers. However, this standing is provisional. Monthly contests will be held for reevaluation, and positions will be adjusted based on the outcomes. Henceforth, he becomes everyone's primary objective. All the incoming students are pursuing him relentlessly. In his current status, he claims top rank already achieved. Therefore, he intends to relinquish this spot to no one. Regarding the celestial and terrestrial hierarchy, each individual there accumulates points based on stand. However, with 5,000 students enrolled, he must gain strength to achieve that goal. Following is the scoring methodology, and an explanation for the Gothic girl's increasing voluptuousness. She indeed possesses certain mystical abilities. She explains that new students earn points based on their position, and these points can be exchanged for sustenance and gear, elixirs, magic manuals, and all other necessities. Furthermore, if he accumulates sufficient points, he can acquire anything including top-tier abilities, talents, and materials beyond mere classification. There exist two methods for obtaining points. Firstly, proceed to the quest notice board and select assignments. And the more challenging the task, the greater the reward. The alternative source of points is the celestial and terrestrial leaderboard. Every participant there gains points according to their position. However, there are 5,000 pupils in this academy. Thus, he must become more formidable to ascend. He acknowledges with a nod, expressing comprehension subsequently. Moreover, this institution features 3 distinct domains, and the initial territory is the Cavern of the Imps. The degrees vary from 17 to 21. The second is the Warped Woodland with degrees 23 to 26. And the final one is the Underworld Part 2, 28 to 31 excluding tiers. Entry to each domain requires expenditure of a specific point total. Utilizing the exercise area for training facilitates level advance. This exercise area reminds me of Hisoka versus Krala. I adore that battle. He can combat automatons or humans. And that's how this academy operates. The greater the score, the more provisions he'll obtain. This is the method of enduring in this location. Our lad appears to relish it. Then another instructor acknowledges her as they proceed. But the ladies are all observing our chap, inquiring who he is. The educator is escorting him individually, while we were guided by upperclassmen in sets of 10. Is he a distinguished guest, or something the fellow, who's a senior, clarifies to the numerous girls that exceptional enrollment. Pupils will have an instructor allocated to them, to aid them. Firstly, to acclimate them to the institution quicker, and secondly, to have a simpler period in listing them for their group. The pale girl is contemplating our fellow. So he's the top spot, I must learn more about him. The automaton saucy top position. Tier 13 holy warrior. And the irregulars can't seem to accept its validity. A holy warrior is a supportive role. And additionally, it's a Tier 14 wild fighter. How is a supportive role quicker than an offensive role? However, the ladies are considering. Our guy is attractive enough to be famous, and obtaining enhancements from him would be amazing. Even Silver Fox is becoming timid, and she can't quit gazing at our guy. The man beside her becomes jealous observer. All the ladies desire the mending of our dark lord and yell. I believe the top spot is fraudulent. Our guy looks back, and the man gestures accusingly, saying, I'm a Tier 13 Retribution Knight, position 38, and I think you lack the power to be number 1. Therefore, I'm requesting a one-on-one fight. The elder grasps his shoulder firmly. Pupil fights are resolved privately. So don't squander everyone's time. Everyone agrees silently. What is this individual doing? But the supporting roles cannot contain themselves when they perceive an opportunity for embarrassment. So he states, do not fret, elder. I possess this. The senior believes you have nothing. The top position is selected by the principal and 5 champions. Thus it is improbable to be incorrect. But everyone desires to observe now naturally, and they are aware of this fact. This Lujin person desires to utilize our protagonist as a stepping stone. That is due to their belief that a Saint Knight lacks combat proficiency, fighting type, so he can effortlessly defeat him, but our female healer inquires. For what reason should I agree to the challenge? The individual wagers 100 score points. You receive those if victorious, and if defeated. You are not obligated to provide me with anything. Our boy desires the points. Therefore, he must agree to this challenge, but additionally desires to utilize this individual as a demonstration. He must exhibit ruthlessness, only then will they recall. Thus he declares 300 score points, and I will engage you in combat. Everyone was bewildered and trembling. He acquired a mere 400 by reaching the top 40. This signifies he will forfeit everything, should he not triumph over our protagonist. Onlookers comment that is a significant penalty for defeat. He aims to distinguish himself as things commence, demonstrating he is a fool from those fictional tales. Yet the man is aware the pale blonde observes it, and now he has presented the proposition. With his pride at stake in this contest, he cannot retreat and must proceed. Our guy departs farewell if you lack courage. However, the man exclaims cease. Agreed, 300. Let's commence the duel, all right. You possess bravery in the end. However, we require no arena. If you remain standing after 3 strikes, I am defeated. But the rider was forgetful, and they ended up in the arena regardless. The instructor announces a countdown of 3. Afterwards, you may proceed, but refrain from lethal actions. 3, 2, 1, commencement. The individual charges forward, believing a penalty evening is identical to an ordinary evening, given that they both originate from the nocturnal group. However, the penalty evening excels at inflicting harm, whereas the ordinary evening merely provides assistance. Therefore, this will be effortless. I must be swift to prevent him from utilizing enhancements. Then the elegant silver princess madam will regard me differently. However, unfortunately for this person, the title of the sequence is SS. Standard evening, and friend, you will be humbled. Meanwhile, she will perceive you differently, with blemish and revulsion. He approaches with a crimson strike. Our protagonist evades and delivers a knee to his abdomen, and the individual is propelled from the arena. Nearly expiring, our edgy youth remarks, it was incredibly dull. I suspected he was concealing something. Turns out he succumbed to a single blow. The elder assists the injured individual. Everyone is astonished. He announces the victim suffered 5 fractured ribs, an internal hemorrhage, and naturally lost consciousness. Juicy Goth appears indifferent, suggesting priestly healing. She returned our companion's identification card, claiming 300 points were transferred for him. The silver-haired demonic maiden fixates on her beloved. Her aesthetic is undeniably fiery and divine. No one comprehends the events. She contemplates the disparity in their power. She requests a duel with him, then implores him to inflict pain and subsequently heal her. Jestfully, she simply proposed a sparring match. Perhaps the latter request will materialize. Our protagonist utilizes the system to observe her. He recognizes her as the girl from the entrance. She possesses a lineage and inherited armaments, akin to legendary weaponry. Observing such a spectacle, he desires to evaluate his capabilities. Thus he consents we return to combat, and he brandishes his maul. Currently, several upperclassmen are bewildered by the freshman conflict. Yet another individual suggests composure. It is merely novice sparring. The person is Li Dongshin, a leader of the Aurora Association. Rank 29 Lancer, he approaches the instructor state. Pleasure to encounter you, Mr. Goth. The score indicates 3-2. Comment? Silver Girl charges towards our protagonist with a shadowy strike, and he counters with a whirlwind assault. Their energies clash within the arena's center, and both appear unscathed. However, she contemplates his remarkable power. He is formidable. She subsequently unleashes her infernal abilities, enveloping her armaments in dark sorcery. Yet our hero simply grins and engages proclaim. At last, a worthy adversary. He opts for a powerful hammer strike, while she utilizes an amplified quick jab. Externally, observers cannot discern the events unfold. The fellow newcomers inquire, could this truly be a duel between two novice students? But Lindong states that lacking a decisive advantage, the young lady will soon be defeated. Violet-haired observes they appear evenly matched to him. Lidong clarifies she previously only defended one strike in 3, but currently she must parry 2 out of every 3, and this signifies her energy is depleted, which is unusual as typically when wielding a massive armor, one conserves energy awaiting an advantageous moment. But Joey exhibits no indication of preserving his vigor, and obstructing this warhammer becomes increasingly challenging for her. The lass is repelled, and our lad declares, "My warm-up has concluded divine favor. Present of valor, empowered armament, and celestial shield." She perceives this as overwhelming force. This represents his genuine capability. As he withdraws the triumphant lance, this fellow utilizes every available resource at the initial opportunity to vanquish a female opponent. The Rep Hill professor's lessons have clearly proven effective. She executes an ethereal strike, evading our protagonist's assault. Yet he anticipated her maneuver. The gilded spear is poised to shower her face. Engulfing her, she wonders when he acquired such skill. Suddenly, she collapses. He halts before enveloping her in sacred radiance, and inquires if she desires to proceed. She rises and declines. The conclusion would remain unchanged, confronting such relentless ferocity and might. However, our champion discerns she held back, employing none of her clandestine swordsmanship techniques, and merely a sliver of her shadowy elemental energy. She offers a smile, acknowledging his observation. It was merely a practice match. Naturally, she would refrain from utilizing her ultimate ability. She's aware he's concealing something, having viewed his record, and subsequently requests his contact information. "Contact me, let's spar sometime." I believe following such aggression, she'll request some spinal adjustment. And as guardian of women globally, I must clarify our hero should mend her for such mercilessness towards this pale lady. She joyfully keeps his contact. Meanwhile, our protagonist, accompanied by his voluptuous educator, becoming increasingly alluring. They depart after a period. They reach his lodging at the entrance. She mentions hearing he seeks the glacial lotus, provides details about a 6-year-old gatherer present at Tempest Range seeking it. But they abandon the search due to formidable creatures. But she offers no assurances. Abruptly, our hero transforms into a tech wizard. 300 displays seeking data on that mount. He now understands his insufficient strength for searching that area. Currently, the situation is the framework gave him a prize, an object granting revival for achieving top position. Due to this circumstance, he will purchase everything possible and behave erratically, utilizing his gaming skills to acquire all available abilities, and also obtain a wooded area. A collection of gear, he journeyed toward the peak. Now a pale youth is creating widespread detonations. Meanwhile, a fair-skinned girl observes her device indoors. She proposed a strenuous joint exercise session, but he declined to ascend the mountain. A sage once advised against concentrating on a creature already cataloged within your collection. Therefore, she contacted an acquaintance with Verdant Hair, who appears likely to instigate problems. informing her of encountering a remarkable male individual. The companion inquired about the degree of uniqueness. She described their previous day's encounter, employing her feminine allure as a tactic to undergo recovery, but alas, he was a Sigma. Her companion informs her he possesses significant willpower to oppose her. When she abruptly declared she was departing for the mountain range to visit him, then a vehicle is observed traversing some creature and an adorable girl launching explosives. She is a robotic girl. Zhu Xiao accompanied by the intelligent, appearing aloof conjurer. When Tian fled, but unexpectedly, a beast was positioned above their vehicle poised to detonate. But fear not, we have the Chicago resident Zhu Dan to effortlessly eliminate those individuals with the Tristana ultimate. Then she exclaimed for someone to take action. And finally we witnessed something remarkable. With substantial thighs encased in azure hosiery was the blade wielder. Su Chunlin, the automaton girl, was rejoicing in the triumph when the mage instructed her to retreat and cast a glacial protection incantation that was instantaneously vaporized by a fiery explosion. The vehicles were demolished and everyone was injured. The mechanic girl was endeavoring to repair everything for their escape, as fellow floor companions urged her escape from what pursued her close behind. Several entities unleashed oral energy blasts. Facing certain demise they contemplated, a unified thought crossed their minds. Could this location be their final resting place? Molten projectiles launched toward the women. As the hero arrived with his white canine, he initiated a wholly tempestuous whirlwind. A massive golden crucifix encircled the beast. The cross spun, creating a sacred fire vortex. Creatures writhed in pain as a celestial being declared. Radiance gathers and the tempest descends. All monsters became tethered to the heavens, whence a colossal golden sword materialized. Then a massive detonation occurred. Fragments scattered as the dust settled revealed. Our protagonist signaled his wolf to halt the inferno. The quartet of women stood bewildered as the woodland vanished instantaneously. Meanwhile, our protagonist utilized his soothing, warm, comforting remedy, subsequent to infusing them with his divine radiance. The ladies rose and expressed gratitude. They felt embarrassed for rescue by the novice newcomer, and the curvaceous woman informed him, despite his strength, returning to replenish their provisions would be prudent. Our hero contemplated his month-long, unsuccessful search, seeking the elusive glacial lotus in vain. The tournament commences in 3 days hence, perhaps returning presents an opportune moment. Thus he consented to the proposition. The voluptuous woman gestured to her companion, who conjured anew. Colossal mechanical spider, a magnificent glistening machine, and together they depart. En route, our champion conversed with the well-endowed woman as customary, inquiring about the prevalence of demonic entities in this territory. She explained her group had frequently hunted in this area. This marked their initial encounter with such creatures. He then inquired regarding the presence of any nearby military installations. She indicated a resupply and commerce outpost exists, safeguarding the vicinity from formidable demonic threats. Their level 20 power prevented the devil's detection. Yet the fiend's sudden emergence was peculiar. Perhaps a dimensional rift was delivering them. Thus, countless devils could materialize anytime. Inside the vehicle, they sensed a demonic aura. A distant violet luminescence radiated forth. They instantly recognized demonic targeting upon someone. Joey instructed them to retreat immediately. He would investigate the situation personally. They yelled his name, cautioning him about danger. But a red pill decreed never heed a female, so he proceeded onward regardless. Sensing a presence, he pondered her location there. Within the forest depths, a gathering of scoundrels conversed, suggesting abandoning the damsel to perish. Confronting 20 platinum devils was impossible. Mid-battle, the devil unleashed laser beams. Naturally, the pale maiden faced imminent demise. Her bloodline ability had mere seconds remained. The evil spirits relentlessly assaulted her, but the horde was vast, solo impossible. She eliminated many, yet they endlessly emerged. Then she uttered words of exquisite beauty. She declared a need to enhance her infernal mind. This implies she is adorable, alluring temptress, lustful, with RMC desires. Even refined sources lack such a treasure. Observe her countenance. Enraged when thunderfall echoed suddenly. Celestial radiance descended. Golden blasts across the entire combat zone, despite countless demonic entities. Impact zone vast, leaving desolation. The breathtaking entity stood with crimson, scarlet eyes, violet fiend markings. grand horns, fairy-like long ears, pristine corset. Upon her midriff, Joey yelled retreat. A giant violet being shrieked, unleashing force directly behind her. She shielded her ears from the agony, while the monarch, with the raging fiery physique, remained. The entity lunged toward her, and she cautioned Joey. Exercise vigilance. She sensed the demonic force had amplified, and now doubted if the pair could overcome this. Thus she devised the most sorrowful scheme imaginable. She intended to self-destruct to safeguard Joey, but thankfully he swiftly grasped her midsection and yanked her before the fiend could assail her. He glanced back and unleashed his luminous chastisement upon the vicinity, and once again engulfed the entire combat zone with a radiant penalty from above. He declared he now comprehended why many individuals favored being sorcerers. Eliminating creatures from afar felt remarkably satisfying. But directly before them, another contingent approached, and abruptly, they were completely encircled. Is it merely my perception, or has the visual style entirely transformed? Fortunately, the alluring succubus albino female remains as captivating as always. Our brooding healer utilized his gilded digits to impart a soothing warmth within her. Her form felt infused with numerous enhancements. Sudden recovery, swift regeneration, a divine blessing. Observing her personal attributes display, she marveled at the freshly acquired bounty of points. He directed her leftward to divert the beasts. While he intended to eliminate as many as possible, he charged forth with his battle hammer, and the beast prepared for an assault. But his sacred strike effortlessly cleaved all. Sprinting alongside the wolf companion, Jiang Chu contemplated her attribute's 25% increase. Her capabilities practically doubled in magnitude, and that was exceptionally favorable tidings. Furthermore, she was remarkably dense. Astonishing, yet based on her understanding. Not even a level 25 paladin could bestow such might. And even more peculiar, he was merely level 16. But then a creature struck the ground forcefully, directly ahead of her position. She had to halt with wolf and brace for combat. But the wolf effortlessly assaulted the violet fiend. She was also ambushed and had to enshroud her armament with her shadowy aura, because she needed to acquire as much time as feasible for Joe, that concurrently was slicing through scores of beings. He was momentarily diverted, and a beast had the chance to strike him from the rear. When the edge was about to graze his throat, a dark circular aura permeated the entire heavens, obliterating that entity. It was Jiang Chu displaying her dominant proclivities, employing her shadowy succubus lash, that I wouldn't deign to allow it to strike me thrice at most. Observing all those entities surrounding, our protagonist discerned that all of that was transpiring due to him. His sacred abilities were alluring every sinister monster, like an insect drawn to a blaze. And he understood that it was the opportune moment to conjure a protective barrier. For Jiang, he contacted his torso and invoked a holy cross. But the magnitude of this one was unfathomable. With a colossal 200-meter radius, all the devils in the vicinity were annihilated by the holy inferno. Jin stood completely captivated by the immense destructive force. Only high-ranking beings could withstand it. Immediately and relentlessly, without pause, Joey invoked sacred light. All shadows would be dispelled for when radiance converged. A tempest descended his ultimate assault, generating a rotating cross encircling the entities, spinning continuously, forming a vortex obliterating the entire battleground. Hidden within the woods, observers were astonished. Could a human truly achieve such a feat? A soldier inquired of his commander, should their presence be revealed. The captain, level 26, understood his squad was no match for those beasts, yet a lone figure dominated the battlefield. Perhaps this presented an ideal opportunity to forge an alliance. With such an exceptional talent, as the four rescued women reappeared within the arachnid capital, the Windy City girl was going to state they came to aid, but they only found a deserted location with the trio present. Joseph consumed an elixir advancing to rank 18, but his standing was far above a typical level 18, and possessing 156 plus 39 in insight. He possessed sufficient intelligence to endorse this record, to assist Mamra in crafting engaging material for his brethren. I addressed all 13 sections of the Minoy's narrative, and its title is likely within the commentary section. I trust you all derived enjoyment, and activate notifications to get enticing alerts, so I can provide you with delightful material, and naturally the subsequent installment of this saga.